art Yu-Gi-Oh cards are finally here, known as OVERFRAME rarity. They're beautiful, but it's about damn time. OVERFRAME rarity will be arriving in the new Limit Over Collection, Hero, and Rivals. The big ones we're getting are the new upgraded ace monsters of the main characters and the rivals. These things aren't just OVERFRAME versions of the original cards, they're like super buffed versions of them, and you'll see why in a minute. They will be available in a standard look in ultra rare. However, what we care about is that they also come in the new coveted ultra rare OVERFRAME rarity. How difficult these versions of the cards to get is actually very important here, because Yu-Gi-Oh has a problem with collecting cards. Nothing's really valuable in the Yu-Gi-Oh card game because it just gets reprinted all the time, blah blah blah. However, if we could finally have something that holds a little bit of value, that would be good for the game. Could this be that? Well, we're gonna have to see if Konami ends up reprinting this a bunch of different times, or if they end up just making loads and loads of OVERFRAME rarity cards. Hopefully they don't. I hope they keep it special. But there is an upgraded version of this rarity as well. The very rare Grandmaster OVERFRAME rare. Only 100 will be printed for each card. So if you manage to get one of those, well, I'm pretty sure you're now rich. We're also going to be getting, as a little starter, 20 commonly used cards in OVERFRAME rarity. These are the 20 cards currently confirmed. However, what we want to talk about today is those remastered versions of iconic cards. So let's go through them all. Let's start first with Dark Magician, the Pharaoh's Servant. It is Dark Magician in everything but effect, and it has Dark Magician in its name, which makes me wonder, some of the support cards for Dark Magician that normally you'd have to play the original vanilla version, can that be completely replaced by this card, or does it not work like that? I guess it depends if there's like quotation marks around Dark Magician. This monster's effect is you can only use one of the second and third effects of this card's name per turn, and only once that turn. This card's name becomes Dark Magician while on the field or in the grave. You can reveal one spell in your hand, special summon this card from your hand, then you can set one spell or trap that mentions Dark Magician from your deck. Quick effect, you can discard one spell, destroy all spells and traps your opponent controls. This is a very good card. Not only can you put like an Eternal Soul face down on the field as soon as you get this out, but you can also basically do Dark Magic attack that lets you destroy all spells and traps. This monster just has that as a built-in ability. So this is an insanely strong start. Favorite hero, Shining Flare Wingman. Now, it's interesting that instead of Neos or Flame Wingman getting a remaster here, the iconic card that they went for is Shining Flare Wingman. It's interesting because, first of all, this monster's fusion materials are one fusion monster and one face-up monster on the field, which basically use super polymerization. You can use your opponent's fusion monster and another one of their monsters. This thing is gonna be nuts. This card is always treated as an elemental hero. You can only use the first effect of this card's name once per turn. If this card is special summoned from the extra deck, you can shuffle 5 monsters from your grave into the deck, draw 2 new cards. And if you do this, this card gains 1000 attack. So of course, Shining Flare Wingman in the anime gained attack for each hero in the grave. This way you are shuffling heroes in your grave back into the deck to get an attack increase, and then you just get a Pot of Greed, draw 2 cards of this as well. It's crazy. And we're not done. If this card destroys a monster by battle, inflict damage to your opponent equal to that monster's original attack. That's Flame Wingman's ability, which obviously Shining Flare Wingman had. So, wow, another great start. Stardust Dragon Victim Sanctuary. Requires 1 tuner and 1 non-tuner monster. You can only use the first and second effect of this card's name each once per turn. Also, you can activate them in the same chain. When your opponent activates a card or effect, in response to the activation of your card or effect, quick effect, you contribute this card, negate that opponent's effect, and if you do, destroy that card. This is obviously Stardust Dragon's explosion protection ability, but it's just a bit more generic now. If your monster or monsters was tributed this turn, quick effect, you can banish this card from your graveyard, special summon 1 Stardust Synchro monster from your extra deck. So yeah, while Stardust is in that graveyard, it's not down and out, it can keep on going. Number 39, Utopia, the Envoy of Light. Requires 2 level 4 monsters. Cannot be destroyed by battle except with a number monster. That's amazing. They actually gave it the anime ability of number monsters that they can only be destroyed by another number. It makes me think maybe they could have given it to like other number monsters. That'd be kind of cool, but still, that's a great start. Quick effect, you can attach 1 material from this card, target 1 monster you control. The first time it would be destroyed by a battle or card effect this turn, it is not destroyed. Obviously, Utopia, the original one, when your opponent attacks, you can attach a material to negate that attack. This is just a better version of that. You make a monster invulnerable for a turn. When the second attack of this turn is declared, you can make this card gain 2,500 attack, and if you do, it gains this effect. When this card destroys a monster by battle and sends it to the grave, you can special summon it to your field. Now, the 2,500 attack point increase is a reference to Double or Nothing, a card that Yuma always used to use with Utopia. But what I don't know is this monster's ability to steal an opponent's monster it destroys by battle. What is that a reference to? You'll have to let me know. I'm not as savvy with Zexal. Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon of the 4 Heavenly Dragons. Amazing name, by the way. Pendulum Effect. You can only use the Pendulum Effect of this card's name once per turn. During your main phase, you can destroy this card, and if you do, add a Pendulum monster with 1,500 or less attack from your deck to your hand. Also, for the rest of this turn, unless you Pendulum summon after this effect resolves, you cannot activate monster effects on the field. So a very, very generic Pendulum search, so that's very strong, but you have to Pendulum summon after, so you have to prioritize when you use this. Its monster effect is you can only use the second monster effect of this card's name once per turn. This Pendulum Summon card gains these effects, gains attack equal to the difference between the pendulum scales of the 2 cards in your pendulum zones. So the bigger the scale, the stronger it becomes. Any battle damage your opponent takes from battles involving this card is doubled, so Odd Eyes' original ability. If this card in the monster zone is destroyed by a battle or card effect, you can add it to your hand. Then, if it was destroyed by your opponent, you can special summon it. Might be a little bit of a play on how pendulum cards work, because normally they go to the extra monster zone and then you bring them back. But I guess with the nerf to pendulum mechanics and everything, this is just a way of doing that kind of thing. Possibly. Decode Talker Integration. Requires 2 or more effect monsters. You can only use the second effect of this card's name once per turn. This card in the extra monster zone gains 500 attack for every other link monster on the field, and in the graveyards, also your opponent cannot target it with card effects. That's crazy. So the original Decode Talker gained 500 attack for each monster it pointed to, so a maximum of 1,500 extra attack. This thing's getting wherever a link monster is, it's just getting stronger. This is going to be a very strong monster. Quick effect, you contribute 1 monster this card points to, send 1 Cyburst monster from your extra deck to the grave. Also, this card can make up to 2 attacks on monsters during each battle phase this turn. Now, I believe Decode Talker's second ability, the original, was that it contributes a monster to prevent destruction of itself, or maybe another card. I think it was just itself. So yeah, this is more of a OTK kind of Decode Talker we have here. So those were all the hero cards. Let's move on now to the rivals. Blue Eyes White Dragon, the White Phantom Beast. You can only use the first and second effect of this card each once per turn. When this card is added from the deck to your hand, or your monster is destroyed by a battle, you can reveal this card in your hand and special summon it. Now, this is really easy to do because you can have a card like Bestial Magma Hut, which lets you add any dragon monster from your deck straight to your hand. And I do believe another way of getting this monster onto the field is something like Heavenly Spheres. But what happens when you get this card to your hand? Well, if this card is special summoned from the hand or deck, you can destroy all monsters your opponent controls. Also, you can only attack with Blue Eyes monsters this turn. When a card or effect is activated that targets this card on the field, quick effect, you can discard 1 card, negate that effect. Basically, if you add this through Magma Hut during the end phase, special summon it to the field, you've got a guaranteed Regeki during the end phase of the opponent's turn. Most likely, Modern Yu-Gi-Oh! They're going to have some negates, but if you can negate them or anything, or they don't have any negates on the field, wow. Cyber End Dragon, the Decisive Strike Dragon. I love it. Big shill for Cyber End Dragon. I'd pick this up in a scoop. Requires 3 machine monsters with 2,100 or more attack. So it's much more generic than Cyber End, which needed 3 Cyber Dragons. Must be fusion summoned. You can only use the first effect of this card's name once per turn. If you control this card, which was fusion summoned using only light monsters, you can pay 4,000 life points, add limiter removal from your deck to your hand. Wow, that's so cool. So that's a 8,000 attack point Cyber End Dragon with piercing battle damage, which, spoilers, if this card attacks a defense position monster, inflict piercing battle damage, but we're still not done. This card, whose current attack is higher than its original attack, can make a second and third attack during each battle phase. So now each one of those heads can attack for 8,000, attack for 8,000, attack for 8,000, that's 816, 24,000 minimum damage, depending on what the stats are of the opponent's monsters. I love it. It's so cool. Crimson Dragon Quetzalcoatl. This is for every single one of the sign of dragons, apart from Black Rose Dragon. Ooh, whoops. Requires 1 tuner and 1 non-tuner. You can only use the first and third effects of this card's name once per turn. If this card is synchro summoned, you can special summon as many dragon synchro monsters from your graveyard as possible. Also, you cannot special summon for the rest of this turn. Gains attack equal to the total original attack of all other synchro monsters you control. When your opponent activates a monster effect, quick effect, you can return 1 other dragon synchro monster you control to the extra deck. If you do, negate the activation. Neo Galaxy Eyes Photon Dragon Photon Howling. Requires 3 level 8 monsters. Once per turn, you can also Xyz summon Neo Galaxy Eyes Photon Dragon Photon Howling by using 1 rank 8 Xyz monster you control, transfer all of its materials onto this card. If this card is Xyz summoned, you can take 1 Photon monster from your deck and either special summon it in defense or attach it to this card as a material. Quick effect, you can detach 3 materials from this card, tribute 1 other Xyz monster, and if you do, negate the effects of all other face-up cards currently on the field until the end of the turn. That's a blanket negate not just on monsters, but back row that's face-up as well. Woofed. Starving Venom Fusion Dragon of the 4 Heavenly Dragons. Requires 2 dark monsters on the field to be summoned. So another card that works really well with Super Poly. This card is always treated as a Predaplant card. You can only use the first and second effect of this card's name each once per turn. If this card is special summoned, you can target one of a face-up monster on the field, change its attack to 0, negate its effects. Also, its attribute becomes dark. That's setting you up for another Super Poly if you want to. When your opponent activates a card or effect, quick effect, you can fusion summon 1 dark fusion monster from your extra deck using dark monsters on the field, including this card. Sorry, this monster has a built-in super polymerization with its effect. Obviously, you can respond to this ability, so it's not as strong as Super Poly, but wow. It's these cards are so crazy. Finally, we have Borrelload Liberator Dragon. Requires 3 or more effect monsters. You can only special summon Borrelload Liberator Dragon once per turn. Once per turn during the battle phase, quick effect, you can place 1 monster your opponent controls in a zone this card points to and take control of it. Your opponent cannot activate cards or effects in response to this effect's activation. Wow. Once per chain, if this card is in your grave, quick effect, you can target 1 monster you control, destroy it, and if you do, special summon this card. So this monster has a unrespondable to change of heart, and it's a permanent change of heart as well. Konami. So am I excited about all these cards? Yes, they're very, very strong. They're gonna see play. I mean, a lot of them are. They're very, very good. Do I like the new OVERFRAME rarity? They're beautiful. I think they look really cool. I really like them. I hope they don't fumble the bag. I hope they make them really cool and exclusive, and if you get them, it's a really big thing. So yeah, I'm really curious to see what is your favorite card that we talked about today. Mine is obviously Cyber End Dragon, so I'd love to know which one is all of yours. Thank you very much for watching, everybody, and I'll catch you later.